Alrighty.
You're live.
In 3, 2.
Oh, is this the guy that's using MyDigitalShield? Because I walked away.
This is. He's not a salesperson for them. He's an MSP.
Yes.
There's a couple other people in IT Bog using it.
What all have you covered so far, Steve? Where am I picking up?
We watched their explainless video on the homepage.
Okay. So MyDigitalShield, the very simplistic way of saying it is that it is a firewall in the cloud. That is a vast oversimplification of what they do, but kind of what their goal is, what they're accomplishing, is trying to take the standard firewall, which sits on premise at each customer site, and moving it to their data center, and moving it to the cloud. What's really kind of neat about their technology is that they're going to be coming out with an agent software here in the next month or two, and that agent software will reside directly on laptops and mobile phones and provide the same level of protection whether you're in the office or out of the office.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, which is really neat. One of the other major limitations of modern day UTMs and the stuff we put on site is that they can only protect you against maybe 10 to 15% of the threats that are out there, because the on-site hardware can only hold that many signatures. There's only so much that it can hold. So when they push definition updates to it, it's only holding maybe 10, 15% of all the threats that are available out there. So MyDigitalShield protects you from 100% because they actually add 2 million new updates per week to their database, and they keep all of them, which is kind of cool. Let's see. What else do they got here? Their next level, and this is something they just added in the last couple of weeks, is a service called OmniWAN, which is their SD-WAN implementation. And SD-WAN, I put that in air quotes because that's just a buzzword. Essentially, SD-WAN means it's a software-defined WAN, where rather than having a physical hardware device that's creating a site-to-site VPN connection, or a physical firewall device on site that's providing failover internet connection, they do all of that using their software via their data center. So if you have a client with multiple internet connections, it can actually load balance the traffic between all of those internet connections, or it can utilize one or more of those as a standby connection to fail over to. And it creates an automatic site-to-site VPN connection between your customers' various locations, which is also kind of cool. And it means that if you have, say, a headquarters location that has lower bandwidth than a satellite location, that satellite location can still utilize their full bandwidth without having to send all of that traffic through the main company's firewall device. It also means you don't have to put a full firewall on that satellite location to do something like split the traffic. What else we got here? So one of the things that they've discovered through their research is that about 40 to 50% of your internet traffic is actually just bots, threats, and advertisements, stuff that's just tying up that line. People scanning for vulnerabilities, that sort of thing. So by putting in the OmniShield OmniWAN, the public IP becomes completely hidden. It's invisible. It doesn't reply to anything. Instead, MyDigitalShield gives you a public IP address from their data center, whatever their closest data center is, to that client. And then they fully secure and optimize the traffic between their data center and the customer's location. So in my implementation in my test lab here, I've got, I'm not even using OmniWAN, I'm just using OmniShield. And my 150 meg fiber connection, I'm actually getting faster speeds through OmniShield than I was getting without, which was pretty impressive. This is probably the demonstration that really just completely threw me over the edge. This is a standard ping that we've got running on the left over here. and watch the time. You can see we're getting 40, 70, 40, 70. This is on a standard Comcast connection. This is nothing special, your typical business Comcast line with a standard UTM in front of it. I believe this is with a Sophos in front of it. And we're going to load up YouTube and watch the ping times. They skyrocket, right? And this is something that we commonly see. Somebody loads a video and everyone's internet traffic is impacted by that for the time while it's loading that internet traffic. So with MyDigitalShield and their their SD-WAN product, the OmniShield and OmniWAN, look at those ping times. Very, very consistent. It's no longer jumping between 40 and 70. And when we load the YouTube video, zero impact. And this is because of the way that they do traffic prioritization. It's like quality of service, but rather than QoS being limited to from the firewall into the customer's network, it's from the data center to the customer. So it's a full bandwidth. And now we're going to load up a second YouTube video, and then a third YouTube video, and then a fourth YouTube video, and the TLDR is the ping time never changes.
Impressive.
And they accomplish this by basically identifying on a daily basis. They look at the internet connection and say, how much connection, how much bandwidth is available. Now we're going to set aside this much of it for this type of traffic, this much for this type of traffic, and that much for that type of traffic. And just because you have a, say, 200 or 300 megabit connection doesn't mean that all of that connection is actually available to you. A lot of times when you start reaching those outer limits, your quality goes down and it affects the entire line because they're providing you with best effort. And so their system actually reevaluates the customer's internet connection on a daily basis and redefines those boundaries for you.
Great.
Now, why can't my Meraki do all of that?
Because your Meraki is limited to on-site. It can only see and deal with the traffic once the internet service provider delivers it to you into the network or from the network to what it's delivering to the internet service provider. Whereas this is protecting that entire connection from the internet service provider all the way to their data center.
But my Meraki has quality of service. It says so in the box.
Yep, it does. And it can absolutely provide quality of service by from where it is into the network. You know, and it can provide quality of service from what's going out if it knows what the limits are, where the guardrails are on that internet connection. But if those guardrails are constantly changing because you've got all of these bots and threats that are taking up that traffic and taking up that bandwidth, it can't automatically adapt to that the way that MyDigitalShield can.
I'm trying to come up with an intelligent rebuttal, and I can't.
Here's the giant list of features between both OmniShield and OmniWAN. OmniShield, as you can tell, is a full service UTM. It's the same type of stuff you'd get from a fully licensed advanced grade Meraki or SonicWall or Sophos. The OmniWAN side is something that you would have to pay typically for an MPLS connection from an ISP to get the level of service you're getting over. You ever noticed how MPLS connections are typically much lower bandwidth, but much higher cost?
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because they're able to provide, you're actually getting a full connection on an MPLS. You're getting that full, even if it's 50 meg, you're getting that full 50 meg, whereas it's no longer best effort like it would be otherwise. And that's what MyDigitalShield provides you with, is that MPLS level quality.
Almost.
This is the other piece of it that is very unique. And I see that almost everybody's on a phone call.
I'm still here. It's
are.
okay. This is being
Being
recorded.
recorded.
So the the other thing that MyDigitalShield does is they put a $100,000 cyber breach guarantee on every one of your customers that's using their products. So if they do get a ransomware infection, or they do get hit by a virus or something that takes down a workstation, they will actually reimburse you for your labor, for your time. They will pay for any legal expenses if there's HIPAA requirements, if there's that sort of thing. The clients that I've talked to and I've shown this to, this was huge for them. This was a major selling point. So that's pretty much the product in a nutshell. They give you 2 different deployment options. They give you a bring your own gateway option, so you can pick up a $50 edge router and create the site-to-site VPN connection with their data center and have full firewall services. If you want to use the OmniWAN, the software-defined WAN, and multiple internet connections and all of the additional optimization functions, you do have to buy one of their devices, one of their OmniBridge devices. But they give you the flexibility to choose between those 2 options on a per client basis.
And you said you can get a $50 edge device. You're referring to the Ubiquiti Edge router, right?
Correct. Yes, the ER-X.
And how much is your cost on just the OmniShield service for a 10-person company with your own ER-X?
You would have to reach out to MyDigitalShield to find out what their specific pricing is going to be. It's a little different for each of the different. You may get different pricing depending on what you're looking at. I can tell you the retail pricing. The retail pricing is going to be for a light bring your own gateway is $42 is the MSRP.
So those are retail.
Mm-hmm. Standard is $67. It's another $10 or $16 if you want to add a public IP. The difference between light and standard, light is their basic OmniShield product that you get the full protection, full security, and full speeds, but you don't get the option of adding a static IP. Standard allows you to add a static IP, port forwarding, that sort of thing. And if you upgrade to Pro, Pro allows you to add multiple VLANs to the setup as well.
And now, what's the difference? Because I'm sure you probably know you can do order OmniWAN or order Legacy.
So the Legacy is going to be going away here very shortly. This is the way that the ordering works at this point.
If I have a Legacy device,
Mm-hmm.
is it going to turn into an OmniShield? Or is it?
Yes, essentially it is OmniShield. You already, if you have a legacy device from before they released the OmniWAN product, you're essentially using an OmniShield with a bring your own gateway. Would be the same setup.
So if I have a light OmniShield,
Mm-hmm.
but it's their device,
Mm-hmm.
what am I able to do with it?
You have the full security package. You have the full OmniShield security package. It creates the site-to-site VPN connection for you.
So is there a reason to have just a light OmniShield then?
Yes, if you've got a small client, a small office, say 5 or 10 users, and they need a firewall, it's the kind of place that you'd normally put in a standard firewall. This could be a fantastic opportunity to sell this product to them, and the light version would easily handle and cover their needs. They don't need a static IP, they don't need port forwarding, they don't need VLANs. It's just a simple flat network.
Okay, and then let me find what's can you remind me the first name? I got it, never mind.
Matthew?
Yeah. I'm just looking up. Okay, so I went back and forth with Matthew with MyDigitalShield, and I want to share this with you, and maybe you can help me understand what on earth I'm looking at and trying to accomplish here.
Mm-hmm.
So I have. They sent me a MyDigitalShield product to demo. I have it, and I started looking up things, and my response to him was, I'm right now. I've got my office here, and the internet's acting kind of goofy. I've got Firebind running here in my office. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Firebind.
I'm not.
It's a fantastic tool. It's running some tests. There's a few blips here and there, but nothing that screams AT&T is my problem.
Mm-hmm.
So if I wanted to put this box in my office is only 5 users, but it's 2 different companies on the same internet connection. So there's 5 users. So there's 5 desktops, smartphones, laptops, tablets, Alexas, Apple TVs, printers, 2 different VoIP systems. One of them's in-house and one of them's hosted. And we've got a bunch of port forwarding. We've got NAT because we've got, what the heck just happened? We've got, oh, my Alexa. I said Alexa. I've got NAT with one of the IPs that we have in our block of 5 or 6 or whatever being for that in-house PBX system. And I said, so how do I do all of that? And he says, we're capable of doing all of that. But he basically recommended that I use my own BYOG, bring your own gateway device, because I've also got like 4 or 5 VLANs. So with that, and I'm assuming this is retail. He was, because in the order system, it would show you the difference between light, standard, and pro. So with
Yeah, on the old ordering system, this one. I think you muted yourself, Steve. So that may have been intentional.
whoops.
So I pretty much missed everything. Sorry about that. Thanks
You're fine.
for recording it.
Yeah. I meant to turn on my camera, not turn off my sound. So yeah, $149 a month to have the privilege of having 4 VPNs and 4 SSIDs. And I thought they were absolutely out of their flipping mind. And then you had to add another $10 a month for the privilege of having a dedicated public IP with port forwarding. So for $150 a month, I get to have a limited UTM, one that's not as capable as a Meraki is how I looked at it. In fact, I did the math, and my comment to Matt was, these prices just seem ridiculous. I always complained when I renew my Meraki licensing because it just seems too expensive. You've managed to charge more for 1 year of your pro service than buying a Meraki MX64 outright and a 5-year license plus the 3 years free because they've got the buy 5, get 3 on us special. And it's still limited to what I can do with yours, like the number of VLANs or SSIDs.
So the only thing that the VLANs are what's holding you up and forcing you to go to pro, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So wait, we're not happy with this product?
So, well, that's what I was feeling like back in May. I felt like this was just ridiculous.
Yeah, and this is a product that's kind of aimed at a particular niche market. If you're dealing with customers that have multi-sites, if you're dealing with customers who are small and have a standard flat network, or you're dealing with customers who require very high security, then this is a phenomenal product. If you've got a complicated network that requires a lot of special VLANs and special setups and multi-nodes and all sorts of stuff, then this can get expensive pretty quickly. So it's a tool that can be utilized for a significant portion of our clientele. But yeah, it's not going to fit every bill every time. I mean, I've got, power plants and city and small cities that are not going to be able to use this product because they have complex networks and setups like that.
Okay. So how does the new OmniShield pricing work? Is it just like this still, where they're limiting you on the stuff that you can do?
Yeah, it's exactly the same setup, the same Light Standard Pro.
I only ask because it doesn't tell you the difference between them.
Yes, it does on their website. But yeah, they did pull it out of the ordering system. Made it a little less intuitive. Shield.
Who's typing like a fiend?
Is Howard here?
Who isn't?
Okay. So is the user limit a hard limit or this is
No, it's a soft limit. It's just a recommendation. And the limit was actually based on their Cloud Link models, which their Cloud Links are going away. So this page hasn't been updated. They're going to rebrand in the next 30 days or so.
What
And all of this will get redone.
The whole company?
Mm-hmm.
Are they changing the name for MyDigitalShield?
They are, yes.
Can I know what it's going to be?
I don't know what it's going to be.
Okay. I feel like Omni would be a great name since they're putting Omni in front of everything.
That was, I think that was one of the names that was being floated around, but yeah.
So, okay. So let's look at this page for a moment, and I just want you to walk through this with me. So any one of these, I can bring my own device. So any one of these, I can use my own $50 Ubiquity.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was the second one on that list? You need to scroll back up.
Oh, what are you looking at?
Simple management. Whoopee. I think of Meraki as simple management. What does that actually mean? What I'm implying it means?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm not their sales guy. I don't know.
Virus protection. So how does virus protection work on a UTM? That's what I want to know.
The files are downloaded to the UTM itself and then scanned prior to being passed on to the end user. So, for example, on a Sophos, the Sophos, if you click on a file, will download the device or even on a Meraki, I believe it works the same way. It downloads the file to the firewall, and then the firewall scans it and then passes it on.
But my computer, and I'm not trying to be a jerk. So I'm behind a Meraki MX64 with the advanced license.
Mm-hmm.
When I click to download a file, I mean, it downloads.
Mm-hmm.
So is there something I'm missing?
I don't know. It's been a long time since I've messed with the Meraki stuff. I know that on the Sophos, there's a delay. There's a delay while it downloads the file to the device. And there's also a size limit. So by default, I believe on most UTMs, 10 megs. Any file that's larger than 10 megs, it won't scan for viruses.
Okay.
Which is a way that hackers get around most of that stuff is by making their files 11 megs because nobody bothers to change the defaults.
And then let's just keep going down the list. I lost my window. There it is.
Hiding.
Intrusion prevention. Well, that's just basic firewall 101, right? Or is
there's a whole bunch of different ways you can look at intrusion prevention. So
okay. Data loss prevention.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that one a little?
So data loss prevention keeps a track of and looks for secure information that you wouldn't want redirected to another site. So for example, if you go to their test site, which is shieldtest.com.
I have.
The test that they run down here with the credit card theft test, this is a JavaScript that's getting injected into the page that is, when you type in a credit card number on a form, trying to redirect that credit card number to a different location, to a different site. That's what this test is looking for, and that's the type. They're doing that not just with credit card information, but they're also looking for social security numbers. They're looking for any type of personal information.
And you're behind a whatchamajiggy, right?
Yes.
The whatchamajiggy, you know. Yeah, there you go. You win. All right, so back to our fancy list. Application control.
Application control is where, and this is actually something that they've got some control, or you have some control of. They're going to make this a lot more detailed in the next release, because I've been forcing them to talk to me about it. You can come in here and select a profile, so what type of organization or what type of company this is, and it predefines your firewall and IPS rules. They also have a list of different software, and what this does is it knows, for example, if you choose Ernest.Solutions or you choose RingCentral, it knows what RingCentral servers are, and it knows what type of traffic that's going to be using. And so that's where the application control comes in, is that it knows that RingCentral is something that you've marked as high priority. And so it's going to set aside bandwidth specifically for that product or that system or that software.
And are the software in that list, does that change depending on what you choose in the profile tab?
No, all of this software is available for you to pick and choose from.
So have you found, or I should say, have you not found software that you need?
Not yet. So far, everything I've looked at or anything my clients are using that's cloud-based is on here. I mean, EHRs, everything's in here. And if there's something that's not, you simply open a support ticket, and within 24 hours, they've got it added.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So what if my client is doing a lot with Amazon, like uploading and downloading big databases because they're selling a bunch of crap
on Amazon servers? Amazon's not one that I've seen on the list here, but yeah, you could reach out to their support and say, hey, I want to make sure that Amazon gets higher priority than anything else. That's what the application control does, is it sets aside bandwidth and says, hey, this is a very important process, and don't let anything get in its way.
Excellent. Now, how does this light version differ from, I'm sorry, not light, but how does the legacy or just the OmniShield differ from OmniWAN? Because it's been my understanding all along that OmniShield is supposed to be setting up this VPN basically between your network and theirs.
Yes, and that's the same thing. What OmniWAN adds is the dynamic adaptation. So the OmniShield product itself is just its best effort. It's utilizing whatever bandwidth it can possibly use. It doesn't know where your guardrails are. It doesn't know how much bandwidth you have. The OmniWAN product will actually test your connection on a daily basis.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So can we go back to that last page? I want to just keep going down that list with you. Since this is being recorded, why not, right? Remote access, easy. Guest Wi-Fi. Does it do anything with agreeing to terms or punching in a code like at a hotel or paying for Wi-Fi or anything fancy like that?
I don't know. I haven't tested it. It's not it's not something from their side that I would be using. I would be using I would be using the functionality built into the access point.
Okay. Security bypass.
Security bypass is a username and password that you can create that if a particular site or product or something you're trying to get to is blocked, you can enter this username and password to override it and go to it anyway.
Okay. Malicious activity alerts. I assume those are just reporting, right?
Correct, yes. If it detects something inside the network that's trying to get out, for example, communication with botnets, that sort of thing, they send you an email alert.
Okay. Free cloud link.
All of this cloud link stuff is going away or has gone away. This is their old hardware product that you have that's no longer available because they're switching it all over to the OmniWAN, OmniBridge stuff.
Got it. So it's either bring your own gateway or buy our stuff.
Correct.
And if I bring my own gateway, I can't even use their dynamic whatever Madoohickey from the OmniWAN service.
What do you mean? Yeah. If you bring your own gateway, you don't have access to any of the OmniWAN
right
stuff at all. Yeah.
All right. Now, dedicated static public IP. Is that referring to mine? Or
this is referring to on their side in their data center. So by default, if you don't purchase a static IP, they put you on one of their pool of IPs. So that you might have multiple customers who are utilizing that same public IP. If you get a dedicated static IP, then from their data center. So if, for example, I go look at.
So just because I have a static IP doesn't necessarily mean I need one from them.
Correct. Yes. The only reason you would need one from them is if you're concerned about IP reputation, or you have to do some sort of port forwarding, that sort of stuff.
And then if I want to do any port forwarding, it has to go through their IP. It can't just bypass their OmniWAN.
Correct. You don't want it to. You want everything, all the traffic running through them. So my public IP, if you look it up, is registered to them because it's running out of their LA data center.
Now, is that giving you any type of anonymity when surfing?
Yes and no. I mean, certainly when I'm surfing, there's nobody who's able to tell who my ISP is.
Okay.
Yes, and DDoS protection is included at all levels.
And then going back down, I saw third-party something.
VPN. They integrate. If you the pro level will allow you to use. I don't know which ones they are, but it will allow you to use multiple third-party VPN. Like I believe Cisco's on that list. Cisco AnyConnect, that sort of thing. VPN clients.
What if you wanted to use the VPN, like that really awesomely secure one by Windows, PPTP?
I don't know.
That could be a third party, or
they might consider that a third party. I don't know if that's one that's specifically supported.
Now, with the new OmniWAN stuff, are they still limiting you to the number of LAN networks, VLANs?
As far as I know right now, the default out of the box is 4, but they've told me that they can tweak that on the back end if you have a specific client need.
Okay. And I don't care about wireless networks because it sounds like, for the most part, you're putting open mesh boxes in all of your clients.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
They're CloudLink devices. The CloudLink Pro and Standard, I believe, had built-in wireless access points.
Got it.
So that's why this is listed here. Again, something in their rebranding I'm sure they'll clean up.
Sure. That's cool. So, I mean, again, looking at this from the standpoint of what I would need. So tell me what I need, because I don't know. I have an IP where I do some port forwarding. I would like to set up some VLANs. I don't know how many. I don't care about Wi-Fi because I've got an Arrowhive here. But we do have 2 different VoIP systems. One's completely hosted with Ray, and the other one has an internal box, maybe Navarisk or one of those. So, I mean, is a standard enough? Do I need a pro?
If you need to do the multi, which it sounds like you've got 2 different organizations on 2 different VLANs, is that right?
Theoretically, I'm gonna say yes because I'm supposed to. But I'm gonna come out and just say that it is not set up correctly.
Okay. So if you want, so there's 2 different ways that you can go about it. If you want to have separate VLANs, separate networks with separate security settings, one for you, one for them, then you would need to be on the pro level. If you want to do the VLAN and the network separation inside of the network utilizing the ERX or utilizing your own router inside of the network, then you could go with the standard.
Okay. Now, these prices are MSRP, so as a
Correct.
partner, we should have lower prices.
Yes.
And I vaguely recall you told me a special price because of our special group.
Exactly. Yes.
So I'll have to do some really complex math here. It's not terrible comparing standard versus pro partner price. All right. So, and even with their box going with pro, you think I'd be happy?
Oh yeah.
Now, are you just using regular old OmniShield right now in your office, or do you have a WAN?
Just the OmniShield. They're sending me an OmniWAN device. I haven't received it yet.
Okay.
They ran out. They announced the product and it just went like fireworks. They sold out of them within 2 days.
So, I think the discount's like 20%, right? Something around there for partners.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. Yeah.
Okay,
It's going to depend on volume. The more volume you have, the higher it gets.
got it. Okay.
So I'll tell you what I'm planning on doing with most of my clients. The vast majority of my clients will fit under standard, so I'm going to end up going with the standard, the OmniShield, and the OmniWAN because I really want that $100,000 guarantee, which only comes with the OmniWAN. It's $50,000 if you do it with the OmniShield.
Okay.
I'm going to go with their OmniBridge 30, and I'm going to do both an active link and a standby link. And so the standby. For the standby link, I'm going to be using the Netgear 4G LTE modem, this little guy, and putting a Google Fi SIM card in it.
Interesting.
So it's a pay per gigabit connection. You don't have any monthly service costs. And that way I'm able to provide my clients with standby internet as an option. And it costs me $120 to buy the hardware, but that's it.
Whose name and credit card is on the Google Fi account?
Mine.
And are you passing that cost on to them if that happens?
I haven't decided yet. I may not.
Depends on how many gigs they use.
Yeah, you know, I probably won't at first, but if it's something that gets abused, right now I don't have much time when people lose the internet connections. It's very, very rare that happens.
Me too. It's always something that makes me nervous though. Like
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want my account on the line when it comes to other people trying to get on the internet and doing God knows what.
Well, I had a the chief of police of one of our local towns calling me up last night going, I can't get work done, and the Comcast modem had died. You know, if I had a system like this in place, it's a situation where I would have been like, I've called Comcast, they'll have a tech out there tomorrow morning, but here's a connection to get you by until tomorrow morning when they get out there. Something that really adds value.
Now, with that said, have you looked, because I know you're an open mesh guy, have you looked at Datto's weird
Yes.
router thing? Because I know they give you the built-in LTE, I think, and it's included in the cost.
It is included in the cost. Their
DNA, right?
Yeah, their unlimited use or whatever you want to call it, their policy on data usage is actually very limited once you dive into the details on it. But my other problem with that product is that it's half-baked. Their feature set is very, very limited, and they have almost no protection built into it at this point. They're releasing more stuff over the next several months, but until it's been out there for at least a year or so, it's not something I'd feel confident putting on a customer site.
So how often do you review and reconsider the products and services that you're offering?
Oh, daily?
Okay, so let's say how long have you been using MyDigitalShield?
We've had it in our test lab now for a month and a half on the OmniShield side, and I've got it going into 3 customer sites, which will be our test sites in the next 30 to 60 days.
So this isn't something you've been doing for long.
Mm-mm.
Who were you with before that? Sophos?
Yes. Yeah, we've got Sophos boxes at all of our client sites right now.
And how long were you with Sophos?
Oh, years, 10 years or so. I've been using them for a very, very long time.
And what made you, because you switched to MyDigitalShield before you found out about OmniWAN, right?
I was using the OmniShield here. We were testing it. I hadn't made the decision to start pushing forward with it until they released the OmniWAN. That kind of pushed it over the edge.
Okay. Now Robert disappeared, but he said something along the lines of he demoed the product twice, and one of the times he demoed it, when the box went down, the internal network went down as well. So if the internet went down, then the LAN was also down. Hopefully Robert can come back and elaborate on that.
He's back.
Yeah,
But he's muted.
I don't know if that was using their device or if that was using.
I'm back, but I've got to go. I just got a call. My problem it was using the old I guess what's now the old CloudLink.
Okay.
Which now y'all are saying are being phased out. Which that brings up another concern is we go and put hardware in place and then the company changes directions in a year or two, we're right back to having to change stuff again, or what?
I don't know. I mean, that's pretty typical across the board. If you've got new, even if Sophos comes out with new models, Meraki comes out with new models, they're constantly updating and changing hardware.
I've got some Sonic walls that have been in place for 3 or 4 years, and I heard Steve talking about how he got an 8-year license or something. I mean, this was the first I heard they were dropping the CloudLink. I talked to them.
They're just not going to sell it anymore.
Yeah, they're not dropping it. Not dropping
support
okay.
for it. Well, I misunderstood.
It still works.
Okay,
Yeah,
I misunderstood.
Yeah. And then do we know what the warranty is like on these things? Is it like a Meraki where as long as you're paying for it, you're 100% covered?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Okay. All right. I feel like you've answered all of my questions and hopefully anyone else's questions. I really appreciate this, Ernest. I appreciate you letting me record this. I know this was a quick 5 minutes, like I promised. But I am gonna pop this up on the YouTube because I don't think you shared anything sensitive.
Yeah, no, you can do that, and I'll be putting together some more detailed videos once I get the OmniWAN in place. I'll actually be recording some product demonstration videos, and I'm getting the full what they call Pro Plus, so the full package is what I'm going to be putting into our test lab here probably sometime next week.
And the demo stuff that you showed us with like opening up YouTube and all that, is that something they provided or did you make that?
They provided that. It's part of a presentation that the CEO did a few weeks ago. So you can ask Matthew and he'll send you this presentation. Excellent.
And can you, I think you put Matthew's contact info up on the screen earlier. I don't know if that's still easily available. So Matthew is your account manager, and he's obviously the best
channel account manager. So he is the one that would handle you even if you went through their website.
So he's the one that handles the entire channel.
Correct.
Now, do they sell direct?
No, they are a channel only company.
So there's only one guy
that's handling the account management at this point. Yeah.
Good for him.
Yep.
All right. Any other words of wisdom you'd like to put out there regarding MyDigitalShield or anything else for that matter?
Not that I can think of at the moment. And I just heard back from Matthew. Their warranty on the hardware is next day air, full coverage for as long as you have a subscription.
That's awesome. So that sounds just like what a Meraki would do.
Yep.
And then I see that shieldtest.com. I know I can make my own branded one. Is that something you actually show people? Like how?
It's something I've got linked on my website. I don't know that it's if a customer had security concerns, it's something that's a good sales tool. I might send them to it.
Okay.
The tests that they're running here, you can dig into the HTML code of this page and actually look at them. They are just standard tests. They're not trying to do anything fancy or anything specific to
I don't think
MyDigitalShield here, which is kind of cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Ernest, for everything. And I think we're going to see you next week, right, for the Office 365 one?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm stoked about that. And then yesterday at the Autotask PSA Tech Chat, we were given an Excel spreadsheet, which is a project form that you can import right in the Autotask. So, and it just happens that it's for Office 365 deployments. Now, with that said, he's also doing 365 deployments for companies that have like hundreds or thousands of users. So we're going to have to probably figure out how to...
Slightly different scale.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure out how to scale this differently. But I feel like between that and then all of us in the meeting, we're going to have some great notes, and we're going to have a great document when we're done.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that documentation webinar coming up. I have my own, but the more I work on it, the more convoluted and confusing it gets. I just can't seem to get it. It's like, I don't know where to draw the line, which it's too many steps or not enough.
My thought on documentation, Victor, is I want my 12-year-old to be able to look at a document and know how to perform certain tasks. I don't want her to know how to deploy Office 365. I feel like there has to be some level of intelligence for things that would include project management. But I feel like, I want very detailed documents for here's how you pay AT&T or things like that. Like I want the office manager to be able to complete certain things without having to call me and ask how.
Right, and I mean, I'll show you guys something really quick.
Okay.
This is what I have.
I'm still recording, by the way.
Oh,
Want me to stop?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna stop. Thanks, guys.